The list of appalling events examined by the House committee investigating the lethal attack on the U.S. Capitol on January 6, 2021, was too long even for me, a member of the panel, to track. The worst was that for weeks, President Donald Trump riled his base to support his claims of election fraud, even though aides told him they were false. Knowing it was likely illegal, his lawyers helped construct a failed campaign to send the Electoral College fake pro-Trump electors who would insist that they represented the true results of voting in key states like Pennsylvania and Michigan. Then, called by Trump to Washington for a day he promised will be wild, his followers waged a bloody, medieval attack on the Capitol. As the police battled them for 187 minutes, Trump watched the violence on TV and refused to call the attackers off. He watched and waited as his loyalist marauders injured more than 100 police officers and entered the Capitol waving Confederate flags and chanting, "Hang Mike Pence! Hang Mike Pence!" America has never experienced anything like January 6, which was what we must call an attempted coup. Now, a movement backed by tens of millions, this Trumpism is un-American in the extreme. It seeks to undermine our elections, place controls on the press, sharply restrict immigration, politicize the judiciary, and polarize the people. This is a reality that demands that we all examine our basic beliefs. Do we want a democracy governed by free and fair elections? Can we consider our difference in matters of politics, ethics, and faith in a respectful way? Do we value our pluralism? Our success at managing these issues has made us the envy of the world for centuries. Do we want to discard what the Constitution gave us? What do we, as Americans, stand for? I stand for the values I learned in my formative years, before Trump, and for that matter, before conservatism and the GOP began its slide away from policies and toward gaining power at any cost. For years, I accommodated this trend, hoping it would stop while I enjoyed the time when we, the Republican Party, were in the House majority. I approached a breaking point with Trump's first impeachment, but was talked out of voting for the articles of impeachment that authorized a trial in the Senate. The second time around, when he was impeached for January 6th, I crossed the partisan line with 9 GOP colleagues and voted yay. A record number of his own party's senators voted to convict Trump, but he prevailed because of the rules. A 2/3 vote is required to convict an impeached official. The 57-43 tally showed that my party was still in a wilderness of its own design. My vote for the House impeachment article made me a marked man among Republicans, even as it brought me praise from Democrats and independents who make up the overwhelming majority in this country. It also earned me an appointment to the investigating committee. On the committee, I was privy to a huge volume of documents, video evidence, and testimony. I also came face to face with the people who developed and executed Trump's scheme to overturn the election, as well as its aftermath. However, no one was affected as directly, not nearly as directly, as the vastly outnumbered police officers. The officers began their defense of the Capitol at 1 p.m. as the attackers breached the lightly manned barricades in front of the building. Faced with a mob that included many bearing 2x4s and toxic sprays and wearing helmets and body armor, the outnumbered police retreated to positions inside the building. More than 1,000 attackers came at them in waves, trying to break through windows and doors. At times, there were hundreds gathering at a single door, pressing in a grotesque rhythm and shouting, "Heave, ho! Heave, ho!" At times, it looked like a child's fantasy of medieval battle. Of course, these were not kids, but grown men and women, and they weren't playing. They were determined to stop Congress's certification of Joe Biden's election as president.